I would have bitten it.
It was 3 times I just got in our place. Real like that, there's just
I just didn't hide on the way, so I was going to go eat and then took my dog for a walk, I'm slipping all over, so I ended up, wearing my big snow boots. Very all,
I know, it's not, she's raised the bar here.
yeah, you have to step up and get a tie. How are you? How did you survive?
You know, it's been a lot of shoveling exercise. Right?
That's an exciting.
Yeah, right.
Oh, I'll probably go upstairs. After this part.
Gotcha.
And then I'll come back down.
Okay.
Good morning, Jackie. Good morning, dear. How are you this morning?
I'm good, how about you?
I'm good, thank you.
Hannah had surgery on Friday, I think I told you that. By Saturday night, they got to take her out of the hospital. She sent me a picture of her and Craig.
Wow.
It's amazing, to have
Yeah.
brain surgery
Yep.
on a Friday, you're out Saturday night.
Wow.
And Jack and Tracy, who is the auditors?
Jason Black.
Jason Mark.
Uh-huh. He's on.
Okay, I saw that, I was just wanting to make sure that was, I
Yeah.
suspected that would be you. We can give her a couple more minutes to do it.
Okay.
And start. Jason. Hey, good morning, everybody. Yeah, come on, Ben. Good morning, Jason. Can you hear us from here in the commissioner's room?
Yeah, I can. Hi, Pete. How are you?
Yeah, well, thanks. We're going to give Commissioner Richardson a couple more minutes, and then we'll just start here. He's not here in a couple. We'll start with you right away.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, be careful out there, it's awful. Jackie, are these all of them or Mike?
There's not all of them.
Okay.
And stars.
Okay.
That's yours. Ours will come
Did you
later.
see that look? Because I give it to you again.
Well, good morning, everybody. Why don't we just begin? Welcome to the Albany County Commission meeting for March 16th. It's only March 16th at 9:03. We'll talk about the Albany County audit for fiscal year 2019-2020. Good morning, Jason. The floor is all yours. Thank you.
Hey, thank you. Is it all right if I share my screen with you all so that you can see the audit report?
Sure.
Okay.
We have Oz running us from somewhere, so I'm hopeful that they can give you those credentials, Jason. I can.
Oh, okay. All right.
David.
Okay, so what I'll do then, as I maybe wait for the permissions to be able to share the screen, do you all have a copy of the audit report in front of you? Okay, that's great. Then what I'll do is I'll walk through the audit report with you, give you a little, what I'm going to do, kind of the outline of my presentation is I'll talk about our opinion over the financial statements and the other reports that we have. And then I'll, after all of that, and talk about the finding that we had this year. And then after that, we'll walk through the financial statements, just give some highlights for the year for you to look at and to think about. So to start off with, let's turn to page 4 of the PDF file. It's page 1 of the report. This page here, this is the independent auditor's report. We outline what management's responsibilities are, what our responsibilities as auditors are. We talk about, in there, we talk about how we performed work. Back in October, we performed work on site, and then we also had remote work as well. You know, the work that we performed, it was delayed this year, and it was a result of the CRF money that the county received. When we found out about the CRF money that the county was going to receive, we did research, including calling the AICPA's technical hotline and their government audit quality center. And they had advised us that, that we shouldn't move forward with issuing a report until the OMB issued their compliance supplement addendum. And once that compliance supplement addendum was issued, then it took us just a little bit longer to get this thing finalized for various reasons. But we sure appreciate, you know, and all the work that we did and the evidence that we gathered. We had great cooperation from management, both the clerk's and treasurer's office and the attorney's office as well. And so with all the help and assistance that we got and all the work that we did, that provides us a basis to form our opinion over these financial statements. And as it says on page 5 of the PDF file, page 2 of the report, we believe that these financial statements are fairly presented in all material respects in accordance with GAAP. And so with that, it's a clean audit report over the county this year. Now, there's this page here, and it also, as we work our way down, it talks about required supplementary information. It also talks about the work that we did over the federal awards for the county. So what we'll do now is let's turn closer to the back of the file. We're going to go to page 63 of the PDF file, and that's page 56 of the report, 56 and 57 of the report. So back on page 63 of the PDF file, this is our report over internal controls over financial reporting and compliance and other matters. So when we do an audit in accordance with government auditing standards, we're required to consider the design of internal controls when we're designing the testing that we will do over the various transaction classes. And so as we did this, we did not find any significant deficiencies nor any material weaknesses in that control structure. Now let's turn to page 65 of the PDF file. On page 65 of the PDF file, this is our report on compliance for each major program and the internal control for those major programs and compliance that's required by uniform guidance. Now, so what we did this year, we had quite a few major programs. We had kind of started off and tested the CSBG grant and also the SAMHSA grant, or the drug court grant. We'd gone in and done testing over those major programs, and we didn't find any significant deficiencies nor material weaknesses. And then later, after we had kind of done that initial work in October, when we found out about the CRF money, the Coronavirus Relief Funds money that was coming in, and that part of that would be applicable from March through June 30th of last year. When we found that out, again, that was part of the reason for the delay in this audit not being issued, back in December. And so we went in and we also tested that program as well. And over that program, we did not have any findings either. Now, if you'll turn with me back to page 67 of the PDF file. On page 67 of the PDF file, page 60 of the report, this gives us the summary of the auditor's results, and including kind of the financial statement section where we didn't have any material weaknesses, significant deficiencies, nor non-compliance. Over federal awards, we did find one significant deficiency, and we'll talk about that now. So if you'll turn to the next page, on page 68 of the PDF file, page 61 of the report. The finding that we have here, it's been common for the counties that we audit here in the state of Wyoming. There was back in this time period, there's election equipment that was given out. And this non-cash assistance needs to be reported on the CFA, the Schedule of Federal Awards, of Expenditures of Federal Awards. And so it's important that the
Jason, we have you muted for some reason.
Sorry, how long had I been muted?
You got done with the CFA and the election equipment, and then you went away.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I've got two screens here, so I didn't notice I was muted. Okay, so yeah, the county, you guys received the election equipment. Now, this was non-cash assistance that you received, and in the OMB's rules, as you look into the statutes, technically all the non-cash assistance that you receive also has to be reported on the CEFA. And so that's what this finding is talking about, is saying that, hey, that election equipment contribution that you received that was passed through the state of Wyoming, even though it was non-cash, it should have been reported on the CEFA. And it has been. The CEFA has been adjusted and it's been included, but it just wasn't included in the initial version of the CEFA that we received. And so that's that there. Not in my mind, not a big deal, but it is a good, helpful reminder and teaching opportunity for the grants department and those of the management at the county that, hey, we need to kind of pay close attention to non-cash assistance that we receive to see if it needs to be included on the CEFA. So with that, and then on the next page is Jackie's response to that finding, which I find to be appropriate and reasonable for the circumstances. So with that kind of is the end of the first part of my presentation, where we talk about the reports and our findings. I'll go ahead and pause for any questions there may be before I walk into the financial statements.
Sure, I'll do it.
I don't have any questions.
None for me, Jason. Continue, please. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Thanks, Pete. Okay. So now what we'll do is we'll go through the financial statement starting up on page 21 of the PDF file. You know, prior to page 21 of the PDF file, page 21 is the statement of net position. Prior to that, there's the management discussion and analysis. And Tracy is the one who wrote that up, and Jackie helped collaborate on that, as I understand. And they did a really nice job writing the MD&A. So I'd encourage you, if you want to go back and read through this, the MD&A is really good thing to read. It helps to put the financial statements in the appropriate context and giving a little more background and maybe outlined in a little more layman's terms than what we have to do in the audit report itself. So really nice read for you there. So now with the statement of net position, this is the county-wide statement of net position. It includes the governmental activities and the component units. It folds in all long-term assets and long-term liabilities, where when we go back and we look at the fund financial statements, those will not include all long-term assets and long-term liabilities. As you look at it, you see that, okay, just focusing on cash, restricted cash, and investments, these balances increased as compared to last year, going from approximately $19.6 million last year up to $23 million in 2020. And then as you work your way down the rest of the statement of net position, there's not a lot of significant changes for the rest of the assets on this statement. Now, when we work our way down into the liabilities section, you'd find that accounts payable, that amount decreased as compared to the prior year. And then there was some increases. Primarily, it was the bonds payable that increased in the current year, and that was associated with that general obligation bond for the county improvement projects that occurred. And then the net pension liability, that amount decreased as compared to the prior year as a result of overall the state of Wyoming's liability going from $3.05 billion down to $2.35 billion. And the county received, a decrease there, where it went from $10.9 million on the net pension liability last year down to $7.5 million in the current year. So with that, let's go on to page 18. On page 22 of the PDF file. Now this page here, if you just kind of focus on the bottom line, the change in net position, there was positive results in the current year by the amount of $2 million. a lot of that has to do with the CRF money that you received, and that the revenue for the CRF money was recognized on the statement of activities in the current year. And so positive results, and that's good. That's good for the current year. Now I'd like to move on to page 23 of the PDF file, page 19 of the report. This is the balance sheet for the governmental funds. This report here does not include all those long-term assets and long-term liabilities. So capital assets and the bonds payable, the net pension liability have been removed. This might be a little bit closer. It's a little closer to more of the budget basis, and we'll look at the budget report here in a little bit. As you look at this, you can see that for deferred inflows, that's kind of one of the big numbers that jumps out at me as I look at this report here. That's different from the statement of net position that we looked at previously. The deferred inflows, you see that grants in the amount of $1.9 million have been deferred, and that's the primarily associated with the CRF money, because that was not available within 60 days after year end. That is why it's listed as a deferred inflow in the current year. But with that, the unassigned fund balance is healthy there. It improved by approximately $1 million over the prior year. Last year, the county was at 11.4 million unassigned for the general fund, and in the current year, we're up to 12.5 unassigned. So positive results there. Now let's go to page 25 of the PDF file, or page 21 of the report. Now this is the income statement, and you see yet again the results were positive for the net change in fund balance. Overall, revenues declined slightly, and that's because of some of the intergovernmental revenues declining in the current year because of a few less grants associated with some major projects that you had in 2019. And otherwise, the expenditures for the current year at 18.3 million, that was a slight decrease as compared to the prior year as well. And yeah. All right. Now, maybe, here's the hard thing about presentations like this sometimes is I like talking about the numbers, and I could kind of go on forever, to be honest. The question is, though, is kind of what are you interested in, and what can I help answer for you? There's a few other things I'd like to go over in this report, but before I do that, are there any questions?
I do.
Commissioner Richardson, are you on the line? I don't know that I see him. So Jason, I have just a couple of questions. Two concerns, healthcare costs and pension liabilities. Does the county have any, do you think that there's any danger to our budget if those continue the way they're continuing? Mentioning the pension being down from 3 billion to 2.3 billion, that's a little concerning for me. And then also our healthcare costs, like everybody else, seem to keep going up. So could you speak to those at all, and if you have looked at those?
Yeah, absolutely. So on the first item, let's tackle is the pension liability. So the pension liability at the state's level, not at your level, was 3 billion down to 2.35 billion. The thing is that, when you look at the funding levels associated with the Wyoming retirement system, you find that it's well funded. It's going to be one of the better funded pension plans in the nation. If you turn on page 51 of the PDF file, page 51 of the PDF, and it's page 46 of the report. But on page 51, you'd see there that the public employee pension plan on the 2019 line, as you go to the far right-hand column there, you see that the plan's fiduciary net position as a percentage of the total pension liability is 76%. Now that description is a little bit of a mouthful, but that 76%, you could liken it unto like how much of your house is paid off, for example. So 76% of the house is paid off there for the public employee pension plan. Now, when you look down into the law enforcement pension plan, that is 89% funded. And so the required contributions that the county makes to participate in the Wyoming's public employee pension plan and their law enforcement pension plan, those contributions are significant. You can see that on the next page, on page 52 of the PDF file. You see that for 2019, the county there was total contributions of $759,000. And then the law enforcement pension plan, that there was $421,000. And, that's a great benefit to the employees. And it is a better funded plan as compared to others in the nation. And so I wouldn't be too concerned about participating in the Wyoming retirement system and providing that benefits to your employees from my perspective.
Thank you. And I guess as the state faces difficult budgets, it appears coming up, nobody can look into the future and see what might happen, but I have this doom thinking that the counties might be given more of the burden and, as well as the employee. And so just thank you for the explanation. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, that is definitely a concern going forward, but I do think that, hey, at least the legislature here in Wyoming has been prudent over the years, and they haven't kicked the can down the road in terms of trying to get that commitment funded. 76% funded is pretty good. Not as good as 100%, obviously, but it's pretty good. Okay, now the second part of your question is related to health care costs. So for that, I think that what's good to look at is the Internal Service Fund. We can look to page 27 of the PDF file. Now on page 27 of the PDF file, or page 23 of the report itself, you'd see that the county currently has in their Internal Service Fund just over $2 million, or they did at June 30th at least. They had just over $2 million. And then there was estimated liabilities associated with that cash balance of $235,000 for the estimated incurred but not reported claims. So overall, a restricted net position of $1.8 million. So that's probably a healthy balance to have going forward to help weather the storms that the county might face, and that the challenges that might be presented from rising healthcare costs. As we go to page 28 of the PDF file, you look at the premium revenue there of $1.9 million. That's the contributions from the county and the employees towards health insurance for the year. And then there's claims paid in the amount of $1.7 million. So a windfall there of $188,000. Now, I think that the management of how you guys are running this internal service fund seems conservative, and it seems prudent what you're doing there. And hopefully that will help you to weather any adversity that comes to you all in the future related to healthcare costs. I think that, the decisions that you all need to make about and is made in connection with your advisors over the healthcare system. You need to evaluate whether that premium revenue is high enough to meet your needs. But in the current year, for 2020, it appears that it was high enough, and that that you're tucking away a little bit of money to help for future claims that might arise. Do those 2 pages help you, Pete, in the question that you had?
Yes, they do. Thank you very much, Jason. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right. I don't see any other questions.
Okay, so there's one more thing that I'd like to point out to you all that I think would be important. I don't normally go into depth on the footnotes, but I would like you to turn to page 48 of the PDF file and look at footnote number 9. We'll look at the second paragraph there. I just want to point out, because we talked about, at the beginning, we talked about the general obligation bond associated with the county improvement projects. There was also a bond issued in the county's name for $5.6 million that helped to fund the Laramie Regional Airport Improvement Project. This amount was not recognized on the financial statements of Albany County. Rather, it's a footnote disclosure. The reason being is that the Laramie Regional Airport district out there, they're going to be reporting the asset associated with that the improvements there, and they're also going to be reporting this liability on their books. But I do want to point that out as a contingent liability that the county has should problems arise with the Laramie Regional Airport. Now, there's no indication that that's going to happen, and that's why it's just disclosed as a footnote here. But that's an important disclosure as well, and that was a big bond offering that you all offered during the prior year. So with that, that's really the end of my presentation, unless there's any other questions.
Wow, look at you, 9:29, Jason, and you started 3 minutes late. Fantastic. Anybody have a question? Commissioner Ibarra?
I don't, thank you.
Well, Jason, you answered my questions. I appreciate the work, and thank you for sending that over. It was a nice snow read over the weekend, and so thank you for that. And if you have anything else, great. If not, we'll release you to your day.
Hey, well, thank you so much. And I'd sure like to thank, management there, Jackie, Tracy, Amanda, Bailey, all the rest, Peggy. They were all real good to work with, and we appreciate their help and cooperation. So have a good day.
Thank you so much, Jason. Have a nice morning.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye. Look at that.
Good job, ladies.
Yeah, thank you. Jackie, you ready to go into the regular meeting? All right. Well, I'd like to call the Albany County Commissioners March 16th, 2020 regular meeting to order at 9:30. Commissioner Ibarra.
Here.
Commissioner Richardson. That's not here, and Commissioner Gosar is here. I'd like to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So I don't believe we have number 3, a public hearing today. Number 4, comments from the public. Does anybody in the commissioner's room here have a public comment, or does anybody online? If you do have one online, if you just raise your hand, that would be great. We'll call on you. And if we don't see you after a minute or two, please just unmute. right. Doesn't appear to be any comments from the public. Disclosures, Commissioner Rivera. Any
I have none.
Commissioner Rich, say good morning. Any disclosures?
Good morning. None for me.
All right, none for me also. Number 6, considerations of changes to the agenda. Jackie, could we add Dr. Elias here right before number 8? It's going to give us a little update on COVID and the health orders that came down from the state. And then, does anybody have any other changes to the agenda? Oh, and then at 10:30, we'll stop and unseal the bids for the Rock River demolition project. Awesome. Item number 7, approval of the consent agenda. Entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll go right here before item 8. Dr. Elias, good morning. Thanks for being willing to join us.
Certainly. Morning, commissioners. So as you know, the statewide health orders expired yesterday, and the statewide mask mandate, which was public health order number 4, was not continued. Dr. Harris, who's the state health officer, has said that more restrictive variances, including mask orders, are still possible for counties where metrics indicate that they're necessary. So our numbers in Albany County, currently we are at a rate of 43.7 per 100,000 population, which is a 14-day running average, and that's in the yellow zone. Our positivity rate is at 1.06% positive, which is in the dark green zone. Our last peak was at 6.6% in January 6th. We've been below 3% since February 2nd, and we've actually been less than 2% since February 23rd. We currently have 12 active cases and no outbreaks in long-term care facilities or assisted living facilities, which is in the light green zone. So the 3 main metrics that we follow, one's in the yellow zone, one's in the dark green zone, one's in the light green zone, which puts us in the light green zone, which means low transmission levels. So at this time, I don't think that the metrics in Albany County would support a variance for a mask mandate. The CDC, the Wyoming Department of Health, and I still all recommend the use of face masks when in public places and when 6 feet of distancing is cannot be maintained. And I will continue to follow the metrics closely, and that recommendation may change, but right now we're looking pretty good.
Well, thank you, Dr. Elias. That's wonderful news. Commissioners, any questions for Dr. Elias?
I had one rattling around in my head and now I can't.
Dr. Elias, would you happen to have, this might not be in your scope, but an overall idea of how many vaccines are given weekly in Albany County, or is that not something that you do?
Yeah, we do. I'm not sure I've got those numbers in front of me right now.
That's all right.
Yeah, sorry.
Kind of interested. I know the pace is picked up, and really welcome to see that. And to all those community members and entities and organizations that have been responsible for that, I sure do appreciate it as a person who works in the healthcare facility. That is welcome news, and welcome to see those long lines being vaccinated at the Armory and other places.
Yeah, we give, when we're at the medical clinic, Mountain View Medical Clinic, we're given about 190 vaccinations per day there. And then the rapid events at the Armory, we do approximately 600, even more on those days. So kind of depends on how many days we're at the Armory and how many days we're at Mountain View.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us on such short notice, and we'll let you go to your day. Appreciate it, Dr. Elias.
Absolutely. Thank you.
You bet. All right, item 8, discuss option to bring in-house treatment providers for the Albany County Adult Juvenile Drug Court. Amy, I see you there. Good morning. The floor is yours. You're muted, Amy.
Do you know something?
About that. Can you hear me now?
I didn't hit it.
Yeah,
Can you guys hear me now?
we do have you, Amy. Thank you.
Thank you. I wanted to bring to discussion today our adult and our juvenile treatment courts, the treatment providers, and have a discussion with you and kind of see what direction the commission would like to go in. The Clinic for Mental Health and Wellness currently provides all treatment for our adult court, and they have, for numerous reasons, pulled out of the contract at the end of their contracted agreement, which would be the end of June. They will no longer provide services for our adult court. So as we were looking around and trying to look at the options for what to do, we were exploring the option of bringing in 2 therapists to work for the specialty courts as employees of Albany County. We've kind of done some salary surveys. We've looked at what the insurance would be. I know I'm hoping you guys have the spreadsheet in front of you. We did the annual cost of benefits. We went kind of the mid-range. We had low, medium, and high. We went with the mid-range at a salary of $55,000. And we're kind of exploring bringing them in-house. With that, we would also have to have a psychiatric nurse practitioner that would not be an employee of the county. I was hoping to link in with the community somewhere with the psychiatric nurse for $2,300 a month to provide that support to the program. And so I guess what I'm asking is if you guys, if we could explore together, or you could tell me kind of your vision, if it would be something we could look at bringing 2 treatment providers for the adult court onto staff with Albany County.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you for the work. Commissioners, any questions?
I have a few
Commissioner
questions.
Ibarra.
Amy, so being new again, you've had a history of being able to consistently have adult therapists or even juvenile therapists?
In the adult court, we have had, so I've been here about 5 years, and we've had the same therapist since I started. So we've been with the Clinic for Mental Health and Wellness the entire time I have been here. So we've had consistent, stable treatment in the adult court.
Any follow-ups, Commissioner Ibarra?
No, not right now.
Yeah.
I think.
Commissioner Richardson?
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
This grant, I think we're talking about SAMHSA grant money. Is that true?
This would be our adult state grant, which we have about $7,200 a month coming in approximately. Our SAMHSA grant is about $8,160 a month coming in. So if I pull out the federal, there's another federal grant for $2,300 a month for medically assisted treatment. We're bringing in approximately $15,000 a month with the 2 grants for the adult court only.
Gotcha. So where my question is going is the grant as it's written, or the grants as they're written, will provide for in-house county employee. In other words, we could hire the service done by our own people, or we can hire it out contract. That doesn't, either way doesn't conflict with the grant.
So let me talk about, there are 2 challenges I see coming. One, we have to, when we originally wrote the federal grant, we would have to get approval from SAMHSA for approval to move outside of the clinic, which is going to happen either way since they're not doing it. Currently, we haven't had anyone interested in the community in picking up 40 adults. This is the program that has 40. So I would like to have the option to bring it in if we can't find the support outside of the community. But that is going to be a challenge and something pending your approval, or if you guys decide we can start exploring this direction, we will certainly reach out to the grants. I just didn't want to put the cart before the horse and go do that. So I'm mainly coming to you guys to see if this is the direction you're okay with us pursuing and moving forward with. One other roadblock or challenge for us would be real estate. If I bring 2 therapists into this program, I would need to have 2 offices with doors because a therapist has to be able to close the door for confidentiality, and I'd need a group space. We have a space up in our office. I don't know if that would be, they would be hosting groups in the evenings after work. So I don't know if that would be the best use of space, but real estate and getting the grants approval will be 2 of the challenges, but this change would cost nothing to the county at all. This is already money we have written into these grants for treatment only. So we would still be using it for treatment. It wouldn't change the county's output. It would just change how the structure in our program looks.
Commissioner Richardson, anything to follow up?
All I would say is that because it's soft money and because the grants cover it, I'm comfortable with allowing Amy to pursue for us so we can understand, and for the programs in her own sake, I think what she's asking us for is permission to do something other than exactly what we've been done, or at least to gather the information. It would come in front of us again. So I'm all for it. I mean, she's probably going to give us back a spreadsheet that says this is what it costs the grant to do it outside our organization, and this is what it costs to do it inside. And, then it's just a value judgment on how to best provide the services, right? So I don't see any reason why we wouldn't allow her to go gather information. And Amy, I appreciate that you would come to us first too. That's kind of fun.
Yeah, Amy, so other than those roadblocks that you talked about, I think creatively with space, if it's going to be after 5 o'clock, public health has a whole bunch of rooms with doors and a couple of rooms for community or conference type rooms. So just thinking along that type of way. And then I guess, who would these people, these therapists, who would they report to? Would that be the commissioners? Would that be somebody else? Just to think about it. You don't have to give me those answers today. Just to think about it, who would those folks report to? And what other spaces does the county have that they might be able to use if it's off hours?
This space would be a great one.
So those are things we've already kind of looked at. Do you guys have a copy of the spreadsheet? I do have the numbers, what it would cost in-house versus out of the county. I already have those numbers done. Currently, it's $212,000 that are going outside of the county annually for this contract. I will be, when we bring it inside, it will be almost that amount minus the $2,300. We're not going to have the psychiatric nurse work for the county, whoever that might be. Additionally, Pete, I appreciate that suggestion, and I think that would be great for groups. We would have to find a place during the days for treatment. The individual therapy appointments would happen during the days. So I can certainly start looking around for that, in addition to when I called the other counties to kind of see what they do with their treatment providers, I was going to propose, and I haven't had a chance to talk to Christina or present it to you guys, that the 2 therapists would report directly to the specialty courts. In which case, if we grow this program and we like having the therapists work and we want to share the funding eventually, we could certainly talk about EAP, county employee support in other ways, and that could then change. But as of now, since the funding would come from here, I would like to keep it all kind of in the specialty courts. But I certainly can bring that all in and propose it. I would like to be in front of you in 2 weeks and say, this is where we're headed. I didn't even know if this was something you guys would agree to. It's going to be, the timeliness is going to be of the essence. We need to have these folks in place no later than the June. We should be doing warm transfer of all the participants. So we should be doing warm transfers with all the therapists come June. So I need to get them hired sooner than later if we bring it in-house, or if a shop in town wants to pick it up. But I'm certainly not finding that interest as of now. But I will keep looking, and in 2 weeks, hopefully come back with a solid proposal of how I can move forward if this is a thing you guys would like to let me look into.
Commissioner Rivera, do you have any concerns?
I don't have any concerns. I've spoken with Amy about this previously, and I think it's a great idea to secure some permanent psychological help as far as counseling and all, just because we really don't have a choice with our current services ending in June. So I'd like to see her move forward and get us some more information about some of your concerns.
Awesome. And it seems like you, Commissioner Richardson, are on board. I am too. Thank you, Amy, for thinking about this and looking creatively at this. I look forward to your report in 2 weeks, if that's when it comes, or the next one after that, the next meeting after that.
Perfect, thank you. So I'll start exploring it, put something together, and come back with solid proposals to move forward at the next meeting.
Awesome, thank you. I appreciate it. Item number 9, present for approval, contract between the Board of County Commissioners of the County of Albany, Wyoming, by and through the Albany County Integrated Juvenile Treatment Program and the Clinic for Mental Health and Wellness, LLC, for group treatment services for participants from March 22nd, 2021 through June 30, 2021. Amy, you're up again.
Thank you. This is for, Peak VOA, they have told us that they are no longer able to perform, they're not able to meet the contract even through April 5th. So starting next Monday, we no longer have group providers for our children. So the team has worked closely, and I want to thank Peggy and Jennifer for all the support. We worked really closely trying to figure out how we're going to manage this. Lots of changes have taken place. Where we have landed is the Clinic for Mental Health and Wellness will pick up our contract to provide group services to these juveniles until June 30th. And at the end of June, they're going to be pulling out of these programs. But they are going to support these kiddos until then. Some of the changes that come with that is we used to provide services in the high school based on everybody heading back to school and some timeline restrictions for the Clinic for Mental Health. We are going to host these groups from 4 to 5 at the Clinic for Mental Health and Wellness, Monday through Thursday. And then on Fridays, it's going to be 1:30 to 3 because school gets out earlier. We are working with the schools on transportation and how to get the kiddos over there. But this is, so we will be transferring where we're paying out. We've checked with the grant. I believe Bailey reached out to our OJJDP grant to verify that this was okay for a short term. So today we're looking for your approval to move those group services over to the Clinic for Mental Health and Wellness. They will continue best they can with virtual individuals. Peak will.
Thank you, Amy. Commissioners, any questions? I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve item 9 as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Amy. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Item 10, present for approval agreement with MSI Mechanical Systems, Inc. of Cheyenne, Wyoming for the courthouse chiller replacement project for a base bid amount of $175,747 and an additional amount of $2,000 for add alternate number 1 if allowed by the engineer, and authorize the chairperson to execute the agreement. Good morning, Bill. The floor is yours.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. How are you today?
I'm well, and you?
I'm doing great.
Yeah.
Yes, this is for the chiller replacement. Unfortunately, we only received one bid when we opened the bids on the 8th of March. We expected to have more bids. There was at least 4 mechanical contractors that were signed up with plans and so forth. The bid was $175,747 $747 for the base bid, which again also was more than we had anticipated. We were kind of looking at 150 and under. I did speak with the president, Matt is his name, of MSI, and he kind of, went through his bid with me, and he felt like it was just lots of small things that added up to, that price. And I would say that he also expected to have competition, so I don't believe that he padded his bid, because he was the only bidder. As far as the ad alternate that we included, unfortunately, that's not going to work out. The chiller, they bid at a kind of off-the-shelf chiller that was a quicker lead time, basically a couple weeks versus 8 weeks. Yeah, but unfortunately, it doesn't meet the specs for the power requirements and some of the safety aspects of that. So it really doesn't make sense for us to compromise the quality that much. So, so that part of it is pretty much eliminated. I just found that out last night, as a matter of fact. So, so we'll just go ahead with the base bid. It's going to be an 8-week delivery. So it may get a little toasty in the courthouse, but we're going to try to do some things with the setup of the system the way it is now, so that it cools off maybe a little more at night and then has more time to heat up during the day. So anyway, I would recommend that you go ahead and accept the bid. I don't think it would make much difference if we went out to bids again. I don't think we'd get any better bids necessarily. And we're going to be four more weeks later in the spring. So if we don't want to cook everybody at the courthouse.
Thank you, Bill. Any commissioners, any questions?
I just have one.
Go ahead.
Please.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Commissioner Rivera.
Bill, so the lack of bids, it wasn't due to any time restraints or?
Well, it was a pretty tight turnaround for not only the bids themselves, but also, the work. And I think that maybe could have influenced it. We definitely reached out to some of the Laramie local mechanical and contractors. And it seemed like they were going to put bids in, but apparently whatever came up, I don't know. But so, yeah, I think that was a big factor, though, was the timing, because it is very tight. I mean, right now it's going to be impossible for MSI to make our deadline, because if you sign the contract today, we'll get their submittal later this week, turn that around in a day or so, and then they're going to order it. So it'll be 8 weeks from, say, the end of this week or beginning of next week. Well, that's already past the deadline in the contract.
For the chillers to arrive.
Right, and then they still have to put it in. So
Right.
they are going to try to obviously do some work ahead of time, remove the existing chiller, and kind of get everything they can ready so that when it gets here, they can put it in quickly. It's the best we can do, I think, at this point. Now, I would also add that I've had very good experience with this contractor, with county jobs and non-county related jobs. So I'm very confident that when they say they're going to get it done, at a certain time, they'll get it done.
Awesome. Thank you, Bill. Commissioner Richardson, anything?
I have some experience with this contractor, and they're serious. They're good. I mean, that just on the business side, I've never hired them to work for me because they do other things, but they're legit. They do what they're supposed to. So
Right.
I don't have any concern about it, not really, except that I don't want them to wind up in. I mean, I guess when there's a deadline described, maybe we should alter the deadline. So that, or we, if I was the contractor, I'd be a little bit nervous. I wouldn't
Right.
want to be facing liquidated damages or something if I, do you know what I'm saying?
Exactly, yeah.
That would probably take an act of this commission to jam them up if they didn't make the deadline, but it seems silly to leave that deadline as it is.
It'd be
When
easy
we
to
know we
change
can't
right
even
now.
get the equipment here.
It'd be really easy to change before anybody signed any documents. I mean, that's the way they bid it, but I'm sure they wouldn't be disagreeable to extending that deadline a few weeks. I think we still want to keep it fairly tight.
What if we extend it by 2 weeks?
Weeks, I think that's a good idea. We change it to, right now it's, I believe, May 15th, so we can change it to June 1st.
Jennifer or Peggy, would you want to weigh in on that at all? Should we do that at a later meeting, or do you feel comfortable just adding 2 weeks to the contract today?
Mr. Chair, I would recommend just adding 2 weeks to the contract today.
Okay.
That would resolve this, so we don't have to bring it back.
Okay, super.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve item number 10 as presented, with the addition of moving the completion deadline to June 1st, 2021.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Bill. Item 11. Take from the table Resolution 2021-006, a resolution to vacate a portion of the Cedar Avenue public right-of-way in the Centennial Plat and quitclaim deed from Albany County, Wyoming, grantor to Diane Packett, grantee. Present for reconsideration Resolution 2021-006, a resolution to vacate a portion of the Cedar Avenue public right-of-way in the Centennial Plat and quitclaim deed from Albany County, Wyoming, grantor to Diane Packett, grantee. Present for approval amendment of Resolution 2021-006 with Resolution 2021-006A or Resolution 2021-06B, a resolution to vacate a portion of the Cedar Avenue public right-of-way in the Centennial Plat and quitclaim deed from Albany County, Wyoming, grantor to Diane Packett, and authorize the chairperson to sign and direct the clerk to record the documents. Becky, thank you. There's a lot of reading this morning.
Yes, Mr. Chair, good morning. Good morning, commissioners. And I asked Jen to also step forward. Prior to this meeting, I did send out another email to you on Friday just to give my further review. And I appreciated that you gave our office an opportunity to go through the material again and upon further reflection and comments. In addition, you had a letter, I believe, that was drafted by Mr. Weiss, that was who's been retained for the applicant in this matter. At this point, reviewing the letter, quite frankly, it's very similar to the legal opinion that we had provided you. The only distinction is Mr. Weiss believes you have to have statutory authority in order to have compensation. I believe that we need to have some regulation or something to give advance notice to the applicant before charging a compensation. For instance, this applicant comes through the process. There was no notice that you may charge compensation. Damages is a different story, and we're not asking for damages, which is outlined in the state statute. I think better policy was that our process needs to include that information and regulations so that the public is put on notice when you have this unique situation that you have in this case, where it's a partial vacate and the applicant is asking for all the land to be vacated to them. And in this unique situation, it's due to no fault of this applicant. The prior item was built into the county's right-of-way. So we need to have a process that's transparent and open to the public. With that said, I had already reached that conclusion, and then Mr. Weiss came forward. So we're all on the same analysis of what it looks like. It's just that there's disagreement, but we end up in the same result, whether there needs to be a statutory authority versus regulations. And I do believe that I would recommend in the future, if this is the direction of this commission, that we do have a work session to have that dialogue about doing such for the future. In addition, prior to this meeting, Ms. Powell, who's the president, she emailed the commissioners to indicate that there was probably some, with all these documents going back and forth, that we may had some legal incorrect on some items. Ms. Curran did review it this morning, and if you would like to address those items, please.
I did look at the email from Ms. Powell, and I talked to her this morning, and we talked through it, and the legal that's provided in the quitclaim deed that you have is for the 35-foot vacation, and that legal is correct for the vacation. The legal that Ms. Powell provided was the legal for the easement that Ms. Packett will grant to the sewer district. So, but what we were missing was the quitclaim deed in case this commission decided to grant a 30-foot easement rather than a 35-foot easement. So I did draft that this morning and have provided it to Ms. Gonzalez if you should need that as well. Do you have any questions for me?
I do.
I do too.
Yeah, I have one. That is, so I'm looking in the packet and there's Amendment A or Amendment B with a legal description, but I can't tell which legal description is 35 feet and which one is 30 feet. Does that make sense?
So Amendment A on the 2001-006A is at 35 feet. That is the one also where we had had the language in there about compensation. And we had it at the 35 feet because of the information from Mr. Frank. After he had gotten the aerial descriptions from Coffee Engineering that showed if we did it at 30 feet, I think Mr. Frank talked about that the door would open right into the right of way on that side of the building. If you look at 006, the original one, that's at 30 feet with no compensation. And B, 006B is at 35 feet with no compensation.
Commissioner Rivera.
That was my question.
Okay.
Because originally 006 was 30 feet. And so the all the legal on that initially started from 30 feet.
Correct.
And so I just wanted to make sure that was cleared up.
If I recall, Jennifer, just for also clarification, if you recall, A and B did make it subject to the easement.
The reservation.
The reservation of easement for the water district, so that you were giving that. So both of those amendments included that.
The difference being that A asks for compensation and B does not,
Correct.
Correct.
because we've probably moved beyond the original unamended resolution.
So my question to you guys is a technical one. If you don't see a resolution that you support, can we leave this on the table and bring it back at another meeting?
The answer is yes, and
Okay.
that's how you would handle it, because if you vote this down, it cannot be brought back until the next term, when the next whatever seated commission. So that would be our recommendation if that is your desire.
Yeah, so Mr. Weiss's letter forced me into the statutes pretty deeply, and right in the top two sentences of the statute, it says the vacation has to be in the interest of the public. Yeah, that's a difficult one for me to square, giving 30 feet of open land below that cabin as being in the public interest. Sure, it makes map makers happy. I could see where that would be in the interest of Ms. Packett, but the one person and one group that I don't know that is in the interest of is the public. So we have a problem. We have a house in the street. Do we give the rest of that right away? And I don't know.
So, Commissioner Chair Gosar, that's why I feel regulation would resolve it, because you can adopt regulations, as you're well aware, for public welfare. And I believe it would be in the public interest in this unique situation to have a regulation for compensation in those unique situations. And that's where I found the genesis, if you will, for your authority in statute, but we did not have it in a regulation at this point with no notice.
Right. So I guess I'll just be quiet for a minute. Commissioner Rivera.
Yeah, I would be in favor of leaving this on the table as well. Partly because the only person to benefit right now is Ms. Packett, as it is. And without compensation or, I'm not sure I'm for giving her all that land, 132 feet south. So I think I'd like to pursue some kind of regulation as well.
Mr. Chair, also, Commissioner Ibarra refreshes my memory. Also in your email, I discussed compensation, how we determine that. Mr. Weiss had made some analysis about the assessor's office. And after I spoke to him, he understood it was not based on an appraised value. It was based on the value that we have calculated for taxes. And that's how it's at a lower amount. But again, that needs to be addressed in regulation, what compensation is due and how that be calculated. And that needs to be in the regulations as well.
Chairman Gosar.
Yes, go ahead, Ms. Powell.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Ms. Ibarra, I have a question. When you say, and Pete, when you say that you don't know that it's in the public interest, I'm curious if any of you have gone up and actually looked at this street and see where the improvements are and what is exactly out on the ground.
I have to admit, I have not.
Tammy, I have seen that. And there's the world that you have and the world you plan for. Now, because that street looks like it does today does not mean that's how it looks like in 10 years or 20 years. And I know you're here to advocate for your client, and that's perfectly fine and your duty, but we're here to advocate for the public interest. And I would be interested to hear your response to how the vacant land below the cabin is in the public interest to be in Ms. Hackett's hands.
So let's back up to the original vacation when we originally went to 40 feet. So we didn't have to go over to the east side and get those owners involved. Okay. So I did that for ease because historically Albany County has always, as Heber says, laid out Centennial as it is, not as it was platted, because we all know that it is inherent with many problems. So then we get the objection from Centennial Water and Sewer that says that if the county was to do that, it would endanger their ability to take care of their sewer line that is solely on the east side of the street, right? So we came to a resolution to grant that easement. Now, one of the things that Heber has brought up that I totally agree with is that for safety purposes, why would you have a street that comes in 18 feet, goes up, 25 feet and over another 18 feet? Why would you do that? How is that in the public interest? And I guess that's what I don't understand is typically streets are straight. And had we known, or had I had any indication in the beginning of this, that the thinking of the commission was that a vacation wouldn't make sense physically, I guess maybe I would have taken a different position. And then the other thing I'd like to just say, and Peggy, thank you for all your research that you've done on this. But if there is to be a resolution for compensation, I just can be honest with you, I'm frustrated that we're the ones that this is happening to. Why can't that be something you do in the future? Rather than to take this request that's been on the table since November, we are now in March, and Miss Packett doesn't know what the heck's going on with their land. So I guess that's my 2 cents today.
So I guess I'll just reply, and then if the other commissioner wants to reply. Having a house in the street is not a reasonable expectation, right? It's not. I looked at the survey that was done, and I could understand if there were not the monuments in place when that land was purchased. But according to the survey, those corners were still, at least the north corners, were still in place, I'm guessing, when Miss Packett bought the land. Now,
It was a cash sale and she was not required to get a survey.
okay,
Nor did we have aerial photography.
right, but the monuments are there.
But why
and-
would she get a survey if if it's not required by her lender?
Because this is what happens when you don't.
Well, I disagree with that, sir.
Okay. Well, we have a house in the street, and that's not typical. And we have lots of houses in streets in Centennial. And so I agree with you that it'd be tough for you to face a reconsideration by a commission, but that doesn't mean the commission shouldn't reconsider, right? We are charged with the public's interest. I've asked you, and I didn't hear an answer, of that open land being deeded or given to Ms. Packett, how that was in the public interest. Now, you said streets are straight, but that doesn't say anything to me about the public interest. So could you
But
tell
what is the public interest for having someone be able to come around the corner and slide, maybe hit her propane tank? I mean, it is in the public interest to keep that street straight.
Yeah, and there are two different ways to do it, right? That house could be asked to be moved out of the street. Would you think that was a reasonable expectation or not?
Absolutely not.
And why not?
Because first of all, it is not the county's property. Second of all, Ms. Packett had no idea that land, that building sat outside of her property when she bought it. Had she known that, I can assure you, had she approached me to do this, I would have said absolutely not, that it's on you that you knew this. But she did not know that. I looked, I went back and looked for building permits. I went back to 1993 when Bob Ort built it. I think it's very sad that we're trying to make her an example for someone else's mistake.
Well, I'm not trying to make anybody an example. And it is also Ms. Packett's mistake, right? And so, the county does have that right of way. And the county does have, in my understanding, the authority to keep the right of ways clear. So we're just going to have to agree to disagree, Tammy, on this. But I still have yet to hear how giving away empty land is in the public interest. And so, Commissioner Ibarra or Commissioner Richardson, do you have any further discussions?
Yeah, I'm prepared to explain why vacating that is in the public interest.
Super.
It's kind of counterintuitive a little bit, but those 80-foot wide rights of way in Centennial are pretty wide for Centennial. And 65 feet, which would be what would be left if there's, no, I'm sorry, I can't do math. I was going back from 100. I apologize. 45 feet is enough for that to be safe and functional as a street for what Centennial is. And the reason it's in the public's best interest is because then the public doesn't have a house in the street. And as far as charging for it, if that was in the petition process, then I would agree that could be on the table, but I don't think it should be on the table because it's not in our petition process. We could add it to the petition process for the next applicant, but the petition is to apply for a vacation, not to make a land deal. So it seems like the proper way, if this commission thinks that she should buy that land, is to vote and deny the petition, and then she and her attorney would have to approach the county to buy the land. Now, I don't think that it makes any difference whether the county gets paid or not. All it does is complicate things legally. If we vacate it without charging, that takes one layer of question mark out of the transaction, and is much cleaner. So if it's $8,000, it cost us more than that in legal to defend our position that we could charge $8,000 for it. You know, we might even go into the negative in terms of the net costs to do that. But if our process described that we could charge, in other words, it's not a petition for vacation. If it were a petition to make a deal, then we wouldn't be legally exposed. So when I look at who's in the room and how much these meetings cost, not to mention who we have on staff that's there and so on, it's, I don't know, it could be $1,000 an hour. And I'm ready for this to be behind us, because that is in the public's best interest. If we talk about this 8 times, it'll cost us $8,000 to talk about it. So I think 65 feet of a street is enough, and it's 45. I'm sorry, 45, and it's in the public's best interest, because then the problem is gone. Then it's over, and resolution is good. I'm not going to offer an opinion of sympathy for somebody who buys a piece of land that's next to the improvement that's in the street. Anytime I've ever bought land, I go find the pins before I make an offer. You know, I just do. Now, I don't know that a survey has to be required in regulation. That's just smart. You just go out there and find the pins, and because you want to know where the structures are, you know, positioned on the lot. Even if it hung over by 2 inches or was 2 inches inside the line, like there's no setbacks in Centennial because of the lot sizes. It's its own little cute historic kind of like planning neighborhood. You know, it's, in our regulations, it has its own historic kind of preservation. So there's 0 setbacks. But I might decide I don't want to buy a house or a piece of property that has something right up to the line. Maybe I want 8 inches or 10 inches or 18 inches or something. So I'm not sympathetic to the applicant, but I am sympathetic to the Albany County and the amount of resources that we're spending on this, because we're trying to not just deal with this, we're trying to imagine what all can happen in the future and try to deal with it on this one. And I think this one, in the petition process, the petitioners are beggars. They're just asking us to resolve their problem, which happens to be ours because there's a house in the public street. And I actually believe in the fee simple concept that is when a developer develops land, and it's different in cities, because the city takes ownership of the streets and the utilities and all of that the developer has made in the streets. And that's part of the development process. But in the county, it's not like that. So the fee simple concept, which is a legal concept, says that that those streets are for public use. But the question of public ownership, like in the sense that we could sell it rather than just give it back to the adjacent landowners if we decided that there didn't need to be a street there. To me, that's an enough question that I'm ready to make a motion and deal with this and be done with it, because it's not going to get any better. And I think everybody watching this in Centennial is on proper notice that they better find the pins on their land before they build a stairway up to their second story or whatever. And it wouldn't bother me to rip a stairway off a house. I'd tell them to tear it off if it's in the right of way, maybe even a porch. But as far as what's inside the foundation walls, I would rather vacate what's underneath it the quickest and least expensive way so that Centennial can be Centennial and we don't spend a lot of public treasure screwing around with this stuff.
Mr. Chair, yeah. Heber, I can appreciate everything that you've said, and especially the part of getting this behind us, because we have spent some time. But I do believe that there could be a third option here, and that's just giving her the land that her house sits on, nothing more, and not asking for compensation. But to give her all that extra land, I don't know if that's in the public interest. And so what the problem is that she has a building in the street.
Right.
We'll give her that land that's her building, not ask for any compensation, and be done with it. Then we have also time to work on a new resolution, but also a regulation put in place so that we don't have this issue coming down the line, because there are definitely plots out there that have the same issue. So I'm not ready to vote on this, either of these resolutions, A or B. I think there could be another option here.
Well, I have thought of that, and that's on a hill. And if there's a little chunk jutting out in the street, see, the point isn't about how much land it is, it's about what's safe. And like for me, I don't get hung up on how much land it is. I want the street to be straight without stair steps and chunks cut out of it. So I don't feel like I'm giving her a gift. I feel like this is the best thing for the public. And maybe it happens to be good for her, maybe it doesn't. But the point is, the street needs to be straight. And it needs to have a continuous edge from one block to another.
But I say,
Go ahead, Tammy.
I had my hand raised, so I apologize for interrupting. But Heber, one of the things that you said, and I appreciate your explanation because you do that better than me, is that the county doesn't own that land in fee. So the county doesn't own it. And so I just want to make sure that everyone understands that it is, you hold it in trust for the public to travel on because it was dedicated as a street on the plat. And I just again wanted to point that out. So when you're considering this, that you don't cross, I mean, not that you're crossing a line, but for lack of a better explanation, cross that line of that it's county property, because it's not county property. It's actually that of the heirs of Fred S. Miller for fee title. So that's all. Thank you.
Tammy, the county has authority over that road and the right of way. Now, whether it's fee simple or not, okay, great. We have authority over that. In unincorporated areas, those streets are treated just like county roads. So if it wasn't, you wouldn't be in front of us today. You would be in front of the heirs of Fred Smith or whoever platted it.
That's correct.
Okay, so we have authority to deal with this, and I just want that understood.
Yes, sir.
And so whether we can do it or not can do it, whether it's a private property line that goes straight or a private property line that meets up with a right-of-way, that street will be straight. Ain't nobody gonna put a big 90-degree jog in that street if Miss Packett doesn't own the 130 feet by 35 feet south. So I'm not concerned about the street going cattywampus because we have a piece of land. I am in agreement with Commissioner Ibarra that we should carve it out, make it safe for the land, but give no more. Because I think the reason this was found, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, Tammy, is this was for sale. And Ms. Packett is trying to sell this property. Is that correct?
Sorry, I couldn't get my mute. Miss Packett hired me to do a vacation, whether it's for sale or not. I can certainly ask her. I can text her.
Okay. But there is something to be sold if it's.
But does it matter if it's for sale? I mean, that land certainly at some point is going to sell, just like all the other. I mean, people are influxing in Wyoming like we've never seen. Okay. So does that matter?
Well, you and I have different ideas of public interest. And so for me, you know, whether I think we have a street, I think we have a pragmatic solution to it. I think there's a really Cadillac pragmatic solution that I'm not in favor of. I think there's a reasonable pragmatic solution that I am. And so I don't see the one that I'm in favor of in front of me today. And that's just that.
So with that, with what Miss Ibarra said, you say, give it to her around her buildings. Are you giving her 1 foot, 2 feet, 3 feet? I mean, what is enough and what is safe and where does the public drive? And I mean, what is the description? Who's going to come up with that?
Well, that's what's to be decided, I think, if that's the way this commission goes. I don't feel like spitballing it on a napkin today, but somebody knows that answer somewhere. And we'll put that into a legal description if that's the way this commission goes. So commissioners, any further thoughts? And I guess if I'm understanding this correct, Ms. Trent, that it's either myself or Commissioner Ibarra that can bring this off the table.
Correct.
Okay.
At this point, I'm not ready to bring it off the table then.
Okay.
I thought didn't we bring it off the table? Well, we brought it back at the last meeting.
And then we delayed it to today.
And then we tabled it.
Yeah, we tabled it again to
But
today.
there weren't any votes against tabling it. So that means any of us can bring it back.
That's correct. Apologize.
Okay.
That is
I'm sorry.
correct.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Richardson.
So at this point, any of you can bring it forward or not.
Okay.
Because it's on the table for today.
Well, to me, I know that B is the best option for the public. But I'm counting the votes and I don't see that.
Well, yeah.
And if I make a motion and you guys kill it, then this is done for the next year and a half. Year and 3/4.
So he's just moving it from the table, right?
I mean,
it stays on the table.
It stays on the table and would have to be lifted off the table at some point. It doesn't die.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about the what would come after that. Does that make sense? Because after we bring it from the table, I would make a motion to approve one of these.
Right, but if they're
And
not
I'm
bringing it
counting the
off the table, then it just stays on the table and it's not been voted on.
Right.
They can bring it back.
Yeah.
Does
So I
that make
probably
sense?
can't get it off the table either.
No,
I don't know that, Commissioner Richardson, but the team.
No, I can. I can say that. You don't have to.
I think you're accurate. Yeah.
So I think a couple meetings ago, I said where we're going to end up, where I thought we would end up, and here we are, to the T, and we'll be here over and over and over again. So that's why I would like to finish this today and move on. I mean, this commission has real stuff to do, and this isn't it. And if we flatter ourselves that somehow we're defending the general welfare of the public by carving a notch out of there rather than having a straight line street or doing nothing, it's grandiosity. There's nothing more to be done here, except that we just keep. I mean, it's the diminishing. It's the ever diminishing point of return. So That's all, those are all the comments I have.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate those, and Ms. Trent, I do think there's a process that we need to establish. This is now what, the third or fourth in my tenure in 2.5 years of vacation in Centennial. Obviously, this is the gift that keeps giving, Centennial, and maybe there needs to be a little bit more process so people know what they're getting into when they come before this commission to vacate. Yeah, I'm certainly not going to make the motion to remove it from the table.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
Personally, as a commissioner, I'm okay with maybe adding to the petition process or something. But I think that this petitioner is entitled to the petition process as it exists now. So if we were going to do that, I would love to do that. But I don't think that we should hold this one hostage to us. And I don't know that we could apply the changes retroactively, considering the fact that we've already accepted the petition and appointed a viewer and all of that stuff. So we probably are stuck with the rules that we have right now for this one, but it doesn't mean it can't be different for the next one.
Agreed. And I think Commissioner Rivera is of like mind that this one falls under those rules, but I think there's one more option that I would like to have the opportunity to vote on. And then we'll put this thing to bed, hopefully. And so I do believe that those processes that they filed under should be the processes that we follow. So seeing that there's no motion to remove it from the table, or if you want to move it, please do. We'll leave it on the table. We'll bring it back the next county commission meeting, which will be the first meeting in April. Yeah.
If I may.
Sure.
Commissioner, Chairperson Gosar, so we need to provide an option C then for that next meeting?
Would you please?
Yes, okay.
Yeah. Do you understand?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And then also, Chairperson Gosar, should we have that process that's already codifying state statutes?
Yeah.
Would you like that placed on for a work session at some later date for you to review and to add whatever you would like to make the process better into regulation form?
Sure, that would be great.
Okay, so we'll bring that for the next meeting for discussion to have a work session set on that.
Thank
Is that
you.
okay?
Yeah.
Thank you, Pedro.
Tammy, thank you for your comments. I appreciate it. Item number 12. Present for approval amendment 1 to the, oh, excuse me, it's 10:30, excuse me. Bill, I guess that we have those bids to open up.
Yes, Chairman. So because of our snowstorm, we were supposed to open bids yesterday for the 219 Avenue C building demolition in Rock River, but that didn't happen.
Okay.
So we did ask, or I sent an email last week to all the plan holders that they could submit electronically because we figured that the roads would all be closed. So Jackie, I'm not sure of what here. So all right, so it looks like we have 3 bids. So we have one from Recycled Materials LLC. They acknowledge receipt of addenda 1 and 2. Their bid is $29,970.00. $29,970.00. We have a bid from Wildac Energy Services, Inc. They also acknowledge receipt of addenda 1 and 2. Their bid is $55,144.00. $55,144.46. $55,144.46. The third bid is from LCI Trucking and Construction LLC. They also acknowledge addenda 1 and 2. Their bid is $48,250 and no cents. $48,250.00.
And then Bill, you'll come back with a recommendation?
Correct.
Perfect. Do you need anything else?
Is this a fourth one then? Oh, yeah, there's a fourth. So I apologize. There was 3 electronic ones and then one that was actually physically delivered. I didn't bring.
You use my pen.
Have we ever had a bid opening in a county commission meeting before?
No, not that I've been in.
How fun.
Heber, I thought you would have carried a pocket knife.
Do you know what? I always have a pocket knife, and I went like that, and I don't have one.
You don't have it?
Did it work?
Yes, I got it. Got the job done. It's not very neat, but. Okay, so the fourth bid is from Ruddle Construction. They also acknowledge receipt of addenda 1 and 2. Their bid is $74,542.50. $74,542.50. And I think that's all the bid. Correct, Jack?
Well, thank you, Bill, and we'll look forward to your response on those. And that's the demolition in Rock River.
Correct.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, I was wanting to bid on that, but I can't because I'm a commissioner, so I just don't.
Yeah.
It's very sad.
Number 12, present for approval Amendment 1 to the Memorandum of Understanding between the Wyoming Department of Health, Public Health Division, and Albany County for the purpose of decreasing the current MCH funding from $143,848 to $131,334 through June 30th, 2022. Is Melanie on? Don't see Melanie. Bailey, can you take that one for us, please? Thank you.
Good morning, commissioners. As I'm sure you all are aware, the state has been starting to cut funding in different places. This one is tied to a federal grant as well. The federal funding still seems to be staying in place as is for this next year. However, they did decide to cut our state funding by about $12,514. This funding does help pay for 2 nurses in the MCH TANF program. And so there it is.
I don't know who wants to make this a motion, but it's not a happy one to have maternal child health nurses reduced in funding. So commissioners, any questions or a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve item 12 as presented.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. There's a
Mr. Chairman.
handsome gentleman outside
Yeah,
looking to talk to you.
My phone's blowing. I have an emergency.
Okay.
So I got to split.
Okay. I'm sorry. to
Is
hear
it
that.
okay if can you guys call me when you go into executive session?
Yeah.
The rest of this is pretty, I don't know if I can use the word mundane.
Pretty administrative.
Yes.
All right. I hope everything goes well, Commissioner Richardson.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
You bet. And we voted on that. Item 13, present for approval, grant application to the Wyoming Department of Agriculture for the Emergency Insect Management Program grant in the amount of $85,423.35. Bailey, thank you.
Good morning, commissioners. This application is one that we do every year. It helps with the mosquito control for the late summer application. I was very happy to see this funding. I was not sure we were going to get it this year due to all the cuts at the state. We are going in with a request for that $85,423.35. As far as matching funds right now, we have $141,153.35, and that's combined between in-kind match as well as cash match. The process of this application, just so you're aware, is we're going to be submitting the application. Then we'll hear back from the state what they are going to be funding, and gives us a chance to let our districts reevaluate their budget. And then I usually come in to ask you to help supply a match for the districts as well. It isn't something that we need at this point, but it is something that just as a cash match to help out the districts for that. But that won't be until later after we hear what the funding is. So, Lindsay is here from Weed and Pest. Lindsay, did you have anything you want to add? Okay. And I don't know if there's anybody else on that.
Okay. Lindsay, good morning.
Yeah, Lindsay Wheat, Albany County Weed and Pest, Mr. Chairman and one commissioner. Thank you for having me in here. I just wanted to thank Ms. Quick, real quick, for putting that application together. She does a fantastic job every year on it, and it is something that is very needed for rural mosquito control districts, which is what this grant is for. It is basically to help them with funding to do control programs on our hated mosquitoes. Mostly it is for the West Nile virus transmitter mosquito, to get rid of those, which would be, usually make their applications probably late June, early July, which is targeted for those species only, not just the nuisance, but that one in particular, to remify the West Nile situation. So I guess I'm here to entertain any questions from you regarding the mosquito districts, or how they work, or what's going on with them. If you've got any questions, I can try and help you answer them.
Commissioner Bear. So how does a mosquito district work, Lindsay? Who pays for the mosquito district, and how does that funded from the county? Could you give us just an overview of?
Yeah, so briefly, they basically ask for donations. They are out in the county, they are rural districts only, and then there's Rock River, so that's pretty much rural too. So they will ask for donations from their residents out there to help pay for that, as well as obtaining this grant to pay for all the chemical that they use in their applicator and stuff, because it is pretty expensive deal. They use airplanes to do most of their work out there. Rock River does some groundwork with boggers also. So that's kind of how that works with funding. We, as the Weed and Pest District, also give them funding as well to help their programs. We also help fund the city's program too, to work on that. So that's kind of how the funding base works on that.
Thank you.
I do have a
Yeah,
question.
go ahead,
And
Commissioner
Lindsay,
Bear.
through your experience, do you guys feel like you're dealing with the mosquito control and all at the proper time, with enough time so that the eggs don't hatch and all?
Yeah, I think it's such a variable program every year based on what happens with the weather, what happens with our runoff off the mountains, as far as water goes, because the mosquitoes are basically in the flood irrigation areas, which is the hay meadows and all that stuff by the river. So it kind of varies every year as to whether there's a lot of mosquitoes, not a lot of mosquitoes, and what happens with them. But they do trapping as part of this grant as well. So they are actually sampling the mosquitoes out there, and it tells them when they need to apply their pesticides. So they are waiting for basically all the mosquitoes to come out, or most of them.
Mm-hmm.
So they're at full time to basically get their one application at the perfect time. So they do monitoring with these traps to figure out when most of the mosquitoes are out. And then they also monitor after they have made their applications to see if they're making reductions in the target mosquito for West Nile, also related to this grant. So there's a lot going on, you know, with the spray program and everything, just to make sure that they do hit it at the right time.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Lindsay. Appreciate it. I'd entertain a motion, Commissioner
Yeah,
Rivera.
I move to approve the grant application to the Wyoming Department of Agriculture for the Emergency Insect Management Program grant in the amount of $85,423.35.
And I second it. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 14, present for approval, subcontract award for high-intensity drug trafficking area funding from January 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2021 in the amount of $70,116. Sheriff Applehands, good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is a subcontract award for $70,116 for one position, which is a cooperative position between the Rocky Mountain HIDA Division, Albany County Sheriff's Office, DCI, and other federal agencies for high-intensity drug trafficking enforcement. So you can see from the agreement, it's between January 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2021. So.
Commissioner Rivera, any questions?
No.
Is this a continual position? How long has this been funded? Do you know, Sheriff?
To my knowledge, it's been funded for at least the last 5 years.
Okay.
In the research that I've done, but it basically renews every year as long as HIDA has the funding for it. We apply and then they provide it.
Thank you. Commissioner Rivera, you're going to be the motion person today.
Yeah. I move that we approve item 14 as presented.
Second, any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 15, award the bid for the maintenance and repair services contract for county-owned vehicles to Laramie GM Auto Center. Sheriff Applehands, again, thank you.
Yes, we're asking to award the bid to Laramie GM Auto Center for maintenance and repair services contract for county-owned vehicles. During the bid process, we only received one bid, and it was from Laramie GM.
Commissioner Rivera.
And Sheriff Applehands, is GM Auto Center the business that has been doing it in the past?
It has.
And Sheriff Applehands, this is all the county-owned vehicles, not just the sheriff's.
Not just the sheriff's. I'm speaking on behalf of the entire county fleet.
Thank you. Commissioner Rivera.
Yes, I move that we award the bid for the maintenance and repair services contract for county-owned vehicles to Laramie GM Auto Center.
Second, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 16, present for approval, agreement between the Board of Commissioners of the County of Albany, Wyoming, and Laramie GM Auto Center for maintenance and repair services for county-owned vehicles. Is there some difference between 15 and 16?
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Sure.
So the first one is awarding the bid because it went out with an RFP, and the second one is just simple contract, just entering the contract with the person who was the bid. So there are two motions, so that's all.
I thought you bit your tongue there for a minute.
No, just like I seemed like I was reading the same thing.
You were. It's Groundhog Day, don't you know?
Right.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve item 16 as presented.
Second, any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 17, award bid for the purchase and delivery of 4 2021 full-size four-door, four-wheel drive police package sport utility vehicles to Laramie GM Auto Center in the amount of $98,400. Sheriff Applehands.
Again, this one is specifically for my department for 4 police package SUVs. This went out to RFP a little bit more than a month ago, and we wanted to award that bid to Laramie GM Auto Center. We received 3 bids, one from Laramie GM, and then 2 from Fremont Motors in Fremont County. One is their GM dealership, one is their Ford dealership. This one is the second lowest bid. The reason why we decided to go with this one as opposed to the lowest bid is because the lowest bid wasn't able to get us our police package vehicles in the time outlined in the bid. The lowest bid wouldn't be able to get us our vehicles until October at the earliest. So Laramie GM is able to get us our police package vehicles within the time allotted within the bid.
Commissioner Vera, any questions?
No question.
I'd entertain a motion.
I move to award the bid for the purchase and delivery of 4 full-size vehicles with package and all to Laramie GM Auto Center in the amount of $98,400.
Second. Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 18, present for approval vehicle purchase and trade-in agreement between Board of Commissioners of the County of Albany, Wyoming and Laramie GM Auto Center for the purchase and delivery of 4 2021 full-size 4-door, 4-wheel drive police package sport utility vehicles in the amount of $98,400. Sheriff Applehand.
Just to give you a little bit more explanation, this one is for a vehicle purchase and a trade-in agreement. So the purchasing of 4 new vehicles comes out to $176,400. We're trading in 4 of our vehicles, in which Laramie GM is going to award us $78,000, which comes to the net of $98,400. So this is just the agreement to replace the older vehicles in our fleet with newer vehicles.
Commissioner Rivera.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve item 18 as presented.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same side. Motion carries. Item 19, present for approval, invitation to bid for the purchase and delivery of 1 2021 full-size 4-door, 4-wheel drive police package pickup truck and direct the clerk to advertise. Sheriff Applehand.
This is an invitation for bid to purchase 1 vehicle. We had an accident and then the insurance is going to cover the replacement of that vehicle. And per our county processes, we wanted to put that out for bid to see who would like to provide that vehicle for our department.
Commissioner Rivera.
Yeah, I move that we approve item 19 as presented.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Sheriff Applehand.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Item 20, present for consideration, request for an exemption from the large tract subdivision process. David Gertsch. Sorry about interrupting.
Yeah.
Your break, David. But thanks for joining us.
Yeah, no, I'm actually working today. So I had to come to this, so I had some other things I needed to do. So not a problem. So what's being proposed here is a large tract subdivision exemption. Maybe to give a little bit of background on this process. So in 2008, the state gave counties the right to regulate, per se, 35 acre tracts to 140 acre tracts. So before, we didn't have any say in what was done. But in the process the state adopted, and then we adopted as well, it allows us to regulate these larger tract subdivisions. And we require basic things like roads and those types of things. Well, within this process, the state did exempt up to 10 of these lots. And so as part of the exemption, we just have to make sure that they address a few different things. They have to address providing a legal description or a record of survey, which has been provided for this project. They have to address any water rights on the property. And if there's no proposed water, they have to put that disclaimer on the survey that there's no proposed central water supply system, and that the division is less than 10 lots. So so now this is what the Smiths are asking, is just to get this exemption, and it does have to be reviewed and then approved by the board. So we're approving the exemption because there'll be 4 lots, which is within that 10 lot threshold. So do you have any questions?
Yeah, Commissioner Rivera, any questions?
I don't think so.
You know, I don't have any questions either, David, other than they just have to come to us and prove that they've done those 4 things, essentially. And is there something that might say no to a request of this nature?
Not really. As long as they provide those things, then we approve them. If they didn't, then I would hopefully find that before it gets here. And, you know, if we got to this point and it was like, oh shoot, we missed something, then we would probably just wait to do it another meeting. But that'd be the only thing really. So.
Okay, and are you looking for an approval to?
Yes.
To the request?
Yes. Approve the grant of. Yep.
Okay.
Go ahead,
Mr.
Dave.
Chair.
Go
Are
ahead,
you
David.
done, Dave?
Oh, I was just going to say that I'm just requesting that you approve the grant of an exemption for the proposed Smith large tract exemption.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the request for an exemption from the large tract subdivision process.
Second. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 21, discuss wind energy conversion system application process. David, and just to give people a little background, I asked David to come in and talk to us today about the process moving forward when somebody submits a wind project application. So David, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. So the process is outlined in the state statute. So we follow what they require. So the first thing is once an application is provided to the planning office, there's a 30-day review period. And at which point in that period, the Board of County Commissioners has to determine whether the application is complete. So we have 30 days to do that. Once we have that meeting, and if it's not deemed to be complete, then the applicant has another 30 days to provide any missing information that's required to be provided. If it is at that, so then we would have to come back and they give us the information, then we would deem it complete and move forward. Now, if we bring it to you and you do deem it to be complete, then at that point we schedule all of the hearings. So the Board of County Commissioners public hearing has to be scheduled between 45 days and 60 days from the point in time when you deem that to be complete. So we would schedule a public hearing. In the meantime, the planning office would also schedule a public hearing with the Planning and Zoning Commission. So that would come before your hearing. So we would get that scheduled before that. And so once then, before either of those hearings are held, there would be notice that would go into it as well. So certified letters are required to go to those that are within 5 miles of the project. Wyoming Department of Transportation has to be notified. Any municipalities within 20 miles of the project has to be notified. And then the notice has to go out. Oh, there's also the publication. So there'll be a legal notice in the Boomerang. And then signage, they'll have to post signage on the public roads around the project so that folks in the area can see those. And then there's also a mineral rights process that they have to do. They have to send out first-class mail to anybody that they know has mineral rights, and then a publication in the newspaper twice before they apply. And so in the mail notice, the publication and the signage has to be up 14 days prior to the Planning and Zoning Commission and 20 days before the Board of County Commissioners meeting. So there's all of that. So then we have the public hearing with the Board of County Commissioners. You don't have to make a determination that day. You can just listen to public comment. But from that that date forward, you have 45 days to make a decision. So if you hear public comments or there are things that come in the application you have questions about, at that point, we could provide that to the applicant. But the board has to make a decision within 45 days, or within, that 45-day period from that public hearing. So as an example, we did receive the rail tie project. And this will be on your April 6th meeting to review and determine if it's complete. If you do determine it's complete, then it will be put on the May 12th Planning and Zoning Commission for them to review it. And then the June 1st Board of County Commissioners meeting would be when we could have the public hearing on that, unless we set a special meeting. But with this, if this timeline works, then we can do it on a regular scheduled meeting and we'll have to schedule a special meeting. But if it's not deemed complete on April 6th, then we would then gather that information, and then there would be different dates for that. So that in a nutshell is the process. Is there any questions about that?
Thank you, David, for running over that for us.
No, I think I understood the process.
Does anybody have a question about the process that's with us remotely? So just to make sure that I have this straight in my notes, David, I'm going to run it back with you. Once the application, we have 30 days as a commission to deem it acceptable. If it's not acceptable, it goes back for 30 days to the applicant. After it's deemed acceptable, the commissioners have to schedule a public hearing 45 to 60 days from the completion designation, or the meeting where we said it's complete. And then after that public hearing, we have, is it 45 to 60 days to make a determination on the permit, or is it just 45 days?
Yeah, 45 days. Yep.
Okay, so within 45 days, we have to make a determination and either approve or not approve the project. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, David. I appreciate you running through that for us. And it'll come to play here coming soon, as you noted. The rail tie wind project submitted an application. Item 22, discuss setting a work session to discuss wind regulations. And so I guess this was my thought previous to an application being submitted by rail tie. I know it seemed, Commissioner Ibarra, you had some thoughts about our regulations and places to improve it. I had some thoughts also. I guess maybe instead of a work session, we could just send this to the EAC, ask them for their help. And then once they brought back wind regulations, we could decide how we wanted to work with them or not.
Yeah, as long as the EAC also receives some of those notes that were taken as far as recommendations when we had the public hearing for additional protections.
Yeah, so yeah, if you wanted to give me a list of yours or ideas that you might think, or maybe you would want them to do it independently of us. And then when they came back with their regulations, we could mark it up and send it back out for public comment. And maybe do this one more time and get wind regulations that everybody felt a little more comfortable with.
Okay, and so you're saying not to send what David, I think, already has from the, would David be giving that to the EAC or not?
Yep, okay. Yeah, that's what I think. Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay. And I guess I'm not sure, can we ask the EAC if they'd be willing to take that up, and do I need to send a note? I can certainly send a note, an email, and Kathy, you, Peggy, and you, Jackie, asking them if they're interested in helping us with the wind regulations. Awesome, thank you.
Absolutely, we'll take it.
Okay, great. Present for approval, elevator maintenance agreement between the Board of County Commissioners and, oh my goodness, ThyssenKrupp Elevator Corporation for maintenance and service of the South Courthouse elevator and the Albany County Detention Center elevator. Roy and Jennifer.
I am
Hi.
here on Roy's behalf while he is out dealing with all of the snow and things from this weekend. So we had the elevator contract with Kone, looks like Cone, Roy tells me it's Kone. That was a 10-year agreement that the commission in, I believe, November of 2020 sent the letter of termination on that contract because it had expired. It was $93, I think, $100 per year to do the maintenance on those two existing elevators, not including the elevator, the new one in the north entryway. So Roy went out and got bids. He asked Kone for a bid. They did not give him one. He got another bid from, I can't remember now the name of the company. They're out of Denver. And then he got a bid from this ThyssenKrupp Elevator Corporation. And ThyssenKrupp is the bid that was the least expensive of all of them. And Roy was most happy with them as a bidder anyway, because they are the ones who installed the elevator in the north entrance. They are also the ones who service numerous elevators throughout town at the university and other places. So their response time is very good. They have technicians who are, if not local to Laramie, local to Cheyenne. So what he is asking for today is that we approve the maintenance agreement that's in front of you, which is a red line version because the company did not come back with a clean version, although all of the changes that are in there are what has been agreed to. So everything where it says to be deleted is deleted. Everything that's on the page 7 additions are accurate and agreed to by everybody.
Commissioner Rivera. Any
I don't have any questions.
none for me. I entertain a motion.
Yeah, I move to approve item 23 as presented.
Second, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 24, present for approval, Resolution 2021-010, resolution to retain outside counsel. Peggy Trent, please.
Thank
Good
you.
morning. Thank you.
Thank you. And I apologize, I don't believe it was in your agenda, even though we had sent it in time for press time, but I did send out another draft on Friday to the commissioners. Essentially, this is requesting outside counsel to represent the county attorney's office in a request for the grand jury evidence and transcripts relating to the shooting involving Robbie Ramirez. At this time, I am making that request because I have a trial schedule, a jury trial on the 8th and 9th of April, as well as the end of April, and my office is in jury trials every week leading up to June or July right now. With that said, this deadline is April 12th and oral arguments, and it overlaps with our jury trial schedule and my jury trial schedule. I did reach out to our liability pool. They have agreed to cover all the costs of that appointment. I have spoken to the attorney, Austin Dunlap, and I believe that he will do a good job in representing the interest of my office. So I'd respectfully request your approval for that appointment. Thank you.
Commissioner Rivera.
I move to approve resolution 2021-010, resolution to retain outside counsel.
Does this have to have authorized the chairman to sign? Is that?
Yes.
Could you add that?
And authorize the chairman to sign.
A second. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, before we move on to the next item, I wanted to go back to a previous item related to the centennial vacation.
Yeah.
Ms. Curran, during the course of the meeting, made me aware, just for clarification, the building that's in the right-of-way, there's also walkways, like, and I guess from the aerial that you may have, which we don't have the ability to put up on the screen, there is wood walkways as well as a propane gas, and if she may address. So I didn't know if you wanted that included in the legal as well, or just the structure, which is the building? And Jennifer's here to clarify.
I was just looking at that aerial photography, and there's a deck on that building that's in the right of way. There's also a deck on the existing structure that's in that, to the south of the building that's in the right of way. And so I just wasn't certain. We wanted to clarify before we left this meeting, if you wanted the legal for those existing decks and that existing propane tank that's just north of the structure that's in the right of way included in any potential vacation.
Commissioner Rivera?
Yeah, I'd have to look at that aerial shot again. I sort of remember it.
And I believe it is in the packet for today.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
And I think also it's included in that, I think what Ms. Powell calls the DP map. You can see where her grant of easements to the Centennial Water and Sewer District includes the existing structures. So there's a portion of space at the top where there's nothing, and then there's the building, and then it comes down. So as you're looking at it.
Yeah.
And so also we want to bring to your attention, as you know, we no longer have Alan Frank available to our resources. So we were going to go through Grant's office to assist with the legal description, because our office does not draft the legal, and also with Ms. Powell and her services as well. And so that's why we needed that direction. But we wanted to be candid with you as to a challenge that we have with that direction on option C. And I guess you could get back to me later. I just wanted to make sure that you were aware if there was a question.
Would you like to get back? Do you have a thought, Commissioner Rivera?
Yeah, let's get back to her.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Item 25, present for approval, purchase of paper cut print deployed printer management licenses for unlimited zones and extension of maintenance and support on the product in the amount of $3,431. Adam, are you there?
I'm here. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep, we have you. Good morning, Adam. Go
Good
ahead.
morning.
The floor is yours.
This is, PaperCut is a product that we already use and use not very heavily across the county. This is essentially adding an extension to it to allow us better deployment capabilities with our printers and better client mapping and access via those printers. And so it's not really a new product. We're just expanding a little bit on the licensing we have, and then trying to add some flexibility and some ease of use.
Thank you, Adam. Commissioner Rivera, any questions?
No questions.
I entertain a motion.
Okay, I move to approve item 25 as presented.
Second, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Adam. Appreciate it. Item 26, accept fiscal year 2019-2020 Albany County audit. Jason, I can't imagine he's still with us, but Commissioner Rivera, any questions or concerns?
No questions or concerns, just a comment on, I just want to compliment all those involved who helped Jason and with the audit, their willingness and expertise and all. It definitely came through on the audit as far as the letters and the discussion or the narrative and all. So I just want to commend our wonderful group of, I guess it mostly women, and thank you for your hard work.
Did we move and second to that?
No.
Okay.
You just asked if I had a comment.
Yeah.
I move that we accept the fiscal year 2019-2020 Albany County audit.
Second, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? I would echo those same comments, Commissioner Rivera. I know they can't do it without you guys' help. And so thank you so much. And thanks for the narrative. You always learn something, right? It's 3 years now of learning something as a commissioner by reading that. So thank you so much. Moved and seconded. Hearing, seeing no further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same side. Motion carries. Item 27, approve payroll and vouchers for March 2020.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the payroll and vouchers for March 2020.
I second. Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Would you guys like a break, or would you like just to go right into the final part of our
Mr. Chairperson, I have to call Christina.
Okay.
She's traveling back from Colorado, and she isn't here in person. She has to correct that.
Okay, and then we have to see if we can get a hold of Commissioner Richardson also. Okay. Well, let's just press on, I guess. We'll.
Should
Yep.
I make a motion to?
Item 28, executive session pursuant to Ohio State Statute 16-4-405 A double I.
Mr. Chair, I move that we adjourn into executive session.
Second, leaving regular session at 11:17 a.m., entering executive session 11:18.
Yes, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move to hire a third-party agency to conduct an investigation for Albany County.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 32, seeing no business before the Albany County Commission on March 16th, I move to adjourn the meeting at 11:53. Thank you all and have a great afternoon.
Thank you, Jackie.
Okay.
Wow. Good thing you're doing it before lunch.
Go see right now.
Well, she doesn't need to stew any longer.
No.
Sorry.
No worries.
Hey, David, it's Jackie. Hey, I got a question for you. Since I have Christina on, hello? Okay,